PPP fraud is ruining everything for the rest of us, for us legitimate small business owners, and this is why we can't have anything nice. Because paycheck protection fraud is blowing up, and because of this, the entire process is now going to be harder for all legitimate small business owners. Everything from applying to actually receiving funding to forgiveness. If it wasn't already complicated enough, it's now going to be a little bit more difficult because of the rampant fraud with this program. Basically, it's not a good time for legitimate small business owners and independent contractors who are struggling and want some additional funding legally. But let me tell you, it's going to be a far worse time for the scammers than it is for the legitimate small business owners because they are cracking down on this. So let's talk about how this scam works, all the changes that are going to be made and how this will impact you, and the bad news here as well as kind of the silver lining with this all, because there actually is a silver lining, believe it or not. So how this scam works, it's pretty darn obvious. In order to get a paycheck protection loan, you need to have a legitimate business that has started before February 15th of 2020. So you need to prove that somehow. So people are making fake documents like fake tax returns, fake bank statements, or whatever else is required by their individual lender in order to apply and make it show that they had gross income or net income to later receive that PPP loan and then just somehow hope that they're able to get forgiveness. And this is so rampant that I literally found examples of people posting ads on Facebook and other marketplaces online advertising to do fake PPP loans, ranging anywhere from $75 up to like $5,000, where people will process this, make you fake documents, and then you get funding. And the problem is you're the one holding all the risk. The person who's processing it, you probably pay them cash. They don't hold any risk. They're saying, oh, this is a program with free money. You may even have people who they have a friend or a family member who receive free money, and they're like, oh, you should do this program. It's free money. Everyone's doing it. And people don't even realize how serious this is and how deep in trouble they're going to be by trying to get a fake PPP loan. And funding is only the first part. Getting funding does not mean you're free and clear here. So now let's talk about the changes to the entire process for us legitimate small business owners, for those who have already applied and those who haven't yet applied. We're going to go from application to forgiveness and beyond. So with the application process, there's going to be some changes here. Additional documentation may be requested for those who just recently applied or are planning on applying soon. Now, these changes may not have been made yet by the time that you apply, but if you are a legitimate small business owner, you should apply ASAP because this program is ending very soon. If you need a lender, there's one link down in the description that I have used to receive funding myself. But some examples of additional documentation that may be required upon application could be things like multiple years of tax returns, invoices for your business, more bank statements for your business, tax transcript requests actually from the IRS, or any other piece of documentation that can pop into their mind and they feel will prove the legitimacy of your business. Now, they're trying to keep things kind of under wraps here. That way scammers can't really plan ahead, especially on the forgiveness end. Now, if you're applying and can't provide any of this documentation quickly, you may run into problems because you may just be denied because there's going to be set time frames. Now, this is going to be an issue for legitimate small business owners who maybe have to request a document from their CPA or something like that, but this will be put in place in order to help prevent fraudsters from just making another fake document and submitting that. Also, there's going to be additional identity information that's needed. We don't know exactly how this is going to work, but it could be something like multiple forms of ID, additional security checks with more pictures of your face and other nonsense like that. Again, because of these fraudsters and many people trying to use fake identities to make a fake business and get a fake PPP loan. So much fakeness, and then probably buy some fake boobs or something like that. Also, there's going to be far more documentation at forgiveness. Now, this is the most frustrating change of them all because over time, the forgiveness application has just gotten easier and easier and easier. The first forgiveness application was like 13 pages long. It was an absolute mess. The most recent forgiveness application is one page. That's the 3508S. You don't even have to provide any additional documentation and you are just forgiven. So this is very likely to be changed. We don't know exactly how it's going to work for legitimate small business owners. You may still just have that form if there's nothing suspicious on your application. But there are going to be far more instances now where people will have to provide documentation with their forgiveness application. Now, if you're a legitimate small business owner, it's not going to be anything crazy, anything that you can't provide. And if you don't have employees, again, all you have to do is pay yourself and you're good to go. So of course, this is an area where the information is not yet public as to what exactly is going to be required on the forgiveness end. And they're doing this that way scammers don't have time to plan ahead. But again, small business owners who are legitimate, you'll be fine. Now, beyond this, there is another major change that hasn't been talked about. So scammers really will be caught in three main spots. First, with the application and funding, they may just be denied up front. Second, with forgiveness, actually applying for forgiveness, proving that you spent the funding on eligible expenses, and proving again that your business is legitimate. The third change is on your tax returns. So the IRS may now check your tax returns to make sure that that business that you're saying is real, both filed taxes and the expenses of the PPP loan are shown on that tax return. So again, getting funding is only one step of the process for these scammers. You are not free and clear if you get funding. You still have forgiveness and you have your tax returns on this business that isn't even real. So good luck with that. So if you filed a fake paycheck protection loan, these are all the issues and consequences that you could face and you very likely will face. You should not do a fake PPP loan. But first, getting funding. Using fake documents to apply for a federal loan is a felony. Whether you get approved or not, it's a felony. Even if you don't get approved, you might think you're in the free and the clear here, but there's records of you trying to get approved with fake documents. Now on forgiveness, again, you're using fake documents, which is a federal crime, and you don't even know which documents they may ask for, so there's no way to prepare, and it's probably not worth the risk. Then on tax time, you now need to file 2021 taxes for your fake business and prove expenses and prove that your PPP was spent on eligible expenses. Good luck with that. And then if you don't pay it back, you're going to ruin your credit and you're going to be denied government programs in the future because they're going to say, hey, this person has already tried to trick the system. Why would we give them more benefits through other programs? Also, if you happen to be on parole, you're likely going to go to prison. If you're not on parole, if you don't have like a record, you're probably not going to go to prison unless you're being made an example of, which some people will probably be that case as well. That'll most likely be the greedy people who try to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. But even if you don't go to prison, best case scenario is not fun and not anywhere that I would want to be. And also with all this, you're showing that you earn more money than you really do, because by applying for these loans, you're telling the government that you make upwards of $100,000 a year in order to get that full $20,000 PPP loan. And because of this, they could pull any benefit program that you may be on, whether that's SNAP benefits or any kind of disability pay or anything like that. They could pull that because they're going to say, oh, hey, this person is claiming to make over $100,000 a year. That could very well happen. You also could be slapped with a tax bill. If you say you made $100,000 in profit last year, they could say, hey, where's our $25,000 in taxes, which is more than a PPP loan. It is just not worth it. Now, you can return your PPP loan. If you got a fake one, if you use fake documents, you can return it and you'll probably be okay. And that's probably the right thing to do, even beyond the moral issue of the fact that you're taking away from legitimate small business owners and making their lives harder. You should probably just return this loan if you got a fake one. But for non-scammers, what changes? What can you expect here? So first, you may now need more documentation for forgiveness. Again, we don't know exactly what's going to be required here, but I will let you know on this channel as soon as there is additional information. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you know as soon as I know. Second, your tax return could very well be scrutinized. But again, if you're a legitimate business, it's not really going to be an issue. Third, it's going to be harder to apply in the coming weeks. Because of that, if you haven't applied yet, you want to apply as soon as possible. That way you just have an easier time, again, if you're a legitimate business. And fourth, some lenders have already just stopped processing applications, and more will follow suit because they're like, I don't even want to deal with this fraud anymore, and they're just stopping. So that's another side effect where it's going to put even more pressure on the few lenders who are left. Now, there is a silver lining with all this, and the silver lining is that there's going to be more funding for everyone else. Because there's greater scrutiny here, there's going to be less scammers who try and apply, and because there's going to be a lot of people who are scared, rightfully, they're going to return funding, which means more funding for more legitimate businesses, which is amazing. So if you are a legitimate business, you really don't have to worry. If you, again, if you are a small business owner and you don't have employees, paying yourself is an eligible expense. You can pay yourself 100% and you don't have to worry about forgiveness. Remember, this program was made to give legitimate small business owners money. So I'm not making this to make anyone worried who is a small business owner. The program is going to be a little bit more complicated. You may have to provide some additional documentation that you didn't have to before. But it's not going to be anything crazy. It's not going to be anything that you don't have access to. It's going to be something simple like bank statements or something that you can prove. If you're legitimate, you shouldn't worry, but you may just have to spend an extra few minutes digging up an additional document on forgiveness if it comes down to that. So there's changes that will be made because of all of these scammers, but ultimately legitimate businesses will be okay. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.